Jango Fett looked over Corky Kryze, the orphan son of Regan Kryze, who had lost her life on Corta 6. This young life has a chance at a better future, but not with Jango and the True Mandalorians. They didn't have the means to care for the child. It would only be a short time before they would be on Mandalore again, and he would return Corky to his Aunt Satine and his grandfather, Duke Adonai Kryze. It was a show of good faith, hopefully one that would gain him a respectful ear from the governing pacifists. It would only be a matter of time before Tor Vizsla and Death Watch were back to full strength and would come looking for Jango and his small band of men. Not to forget that Montross was out there lurking and may even be sided with Death Watch at this point after his expulsion from the group. Jango couldn't help but think he should have killed Montross. But what has happened has happened. Jango was alerted to a disturbance as Silas called out on the comlink, "Jango, we need you to your sister's quarters, right now." Jango rushed through the tight corridor to Arla's room where he had just left her an hour prior to that. But he heard screams from inside, terrible screams. Jango tried entering her room, but the door was locked from the inside. Silas Scarata hurried through and short-circuited the door. As it slid open to the left, Jango witnessed his sister, Arla, pulling at her own hair. Her eyes were closed, and she seemed to be in a trance. Then her eyes opened and were rolled back in her head. She looked at Jango and yelled, "You did this to me!" Jango watched on and witnessed as his sister, that he admired so much as a child, used her vibroblades to cut her hair between her hand and her scalp, as if to free herself from her own hand trying to drag her by her hair. The vibroblades left a bald patch at the top of her head. Everyone stood in shock. They had never seen anything like this. Just then, she awoke. She rolled over off her bunk and onto the floor. Crouching down, she backed herself into a corner and began gritting her teeth and breathing heavily. A deep breath into her lungs and barely expelling it before taking in another breath. Her teeth bared as she glared at Jango. "If you're going to try to kill me, you'd better do it now. Please kill me." Just then, she was hit with a stun from Skull Squadron leader Cart Rao. Everyone looked at him in shock. His response, "Yes, Mandalore Fett, I know she's your sister, but it had to be done before she hurts herself or others." Jango gave Rao an angry look, but he knew he was right. He just should have waited for approval. Silas and Jango picked up Arla Fett and lay her on her bed. As the only sign of a medic droid entered, the blue A21A, or Alpha as he was called, gave her a sedative to keep her unconscious for a little longer and ran some preliminary scans of her physicality. There were no bodily injuries to report. Upon further scan, the droid determined the female had been beaten, especially in the cranial region. Brain scans showed high activity in her brain stem. She was lucky to be walking, or alive with this type of abnormality. The droid told Jango of the trauma Arla's brain had suffered and indicated he could do a procedure to fix it, or at least limit her outbursts. Jango looked at the droid with contempt. "What are you waiting for?" The droid responded in a deep, monotone voice. "We don't have the facilities here. We're a triage and emergency station only. We will need a proper medical facility." Jango looked down and sighed. "We will be on Mandalore soon. Hopefully they'll let us use their facilities." The droid pivoted back to face Jango. "We will need to get there soon. Miss Fett does not have long." Jango looking confused. Long for what? The droid again with the deep monotone robotic voice. This time there seemed to be a little caring in it. "It won't be long until she expires, sir." Jango turned to Silas and Cart Rao. "Get us to Mandalore now." Both men looked at each other and ran through the halls, bouncing thoughts off each other as to how they could get there quicker, until their voices could no longer be heard. Jango then took a knee at the side of Arla's bed and grabbed her hand softly. She let out a breath when he did. He knew she could feel him, and he would do everything in his power to save her. "Arla," Jango whispered, "don't leave. Stay with me. I can't lose you again." As the pirate ship drops out of hyperspace, it shakes. Not much, but enough to alert the passengers that they have reached their destination, Mandalore. Jango was still working on his speech, and he turned to Silas. "Silas, Has Duke Adonai Kryze granted us a time for an audience with him? Silas gave a strange look. We haven't asked for an audience with him yet. Have we? Silas responds, No, sir. You said no transmissions were to be made when we left Hoth, that we were supposed to be on Nar Shaddaa. Jango dropped his head in disappointment. I thought it was clear that we needed an audience with the Duke and the use of a medical facility. Get access now. We can't waste any more time. Right away, Mandalore Fett. Duke Adonai Kryze was already aware of the pirate ship entering the Mandalore sector. He had limited forces to battle even a small band of pirates, but was hoping enough of the citizens could stand up if it came to it. But wait, this pirate had to be suicidal to take on Mandalore, the heart of Mandalorian culture. He almost laughed, but stopped himself as he realized there was really no way they could protect themselves from any type of invasion. But the pirates didn't need to know that. Just then, his daughter Satine enters the Duke's office. Comms indicates there's an SOS coming from the pirate ship. They are requesting permission to land and have audience with you, Father. The Duke, now confused as to why a pirate saucer would request an audience and permission to land. They take what they want without permission. I will speak to them on the comm, he replied. Weequay pirate vessel, what is the meaning of this? You are in violation of Mandalore space. I insist you turn your vessel and return to where you came from, started Duke Adonai Kryze. Duke Kryze, this is Silas Scarata of Clan Scarata and member of House Fett, formerly House Mariel. Our Mandalore humbly requests an audience with you and permission for use of a medical facility. The Mandalore sister is in dire need of assistance. He ensures this will be mutually beneficial, and he has a gift for you of some importance. Kryze looks at his daughter, who recently turned 21. Father, it would not hurt to hear them out. Diplomacy is always favorable to war. The Duke smiles and returns to the comm. Silas Scarata of Clan Scarata and House Fett, you have permission to land. 1 hour to use the medical facility, and I will meet with your Mandalore with one advisor each. All others remain on the ship. No weapons, no armor. It took a moment for the reply from the True Mandalorians. Then a single word came over the comm. Agreed. Okay, Jango thought, this is it. I have to make this count. He directed the medical droid to hurry Arla to the medical station. The droid was escorted by guards of the Mandalorian palace, but Jango would have to check on Arla after the meeting with Duke Kryze. Cart Rao was the advisor Jango chose to go with him. Cart had a son, just younger than Jango himself, Fenn Rao. He knew that this meeting would go much smoother if there was a familial undertone. Silas would have been his first choice, but Silas had lost his brother recently and was a little hot-tempered lately. He loved Silas like a brother, but this temper could jackknife this whole meeting. Duke Kryze decided to bring his daughter Satine. As they walked to the conference room, Adonai expressed his admiration of her. Satine, you have grown into a fine woman. You always know what to say in these situations. I am getting older, and one day you will have to take over as the regent of Mandalore and its people. Their interests always have to be at the front of any decision you make. Satine smiled. Thank you, Father. What do you suppose this alleged Mandalore wants? The Duke stopped and turned to his heir. Satine, make no mistake. If Jester Mariel is truly dead, and he chose this Jango Fett, then that makes him the rightful ruler of Mandalore. The reason we are the controlling body is because Jaster and his men set off to defeat Tor Vizsla and his cult. We are merely placeholders. Satine looked confused. She had heard the stories of the Civil War, but had not seen it firsthand. Tor Vizsla and Deathwatch wanted to continue the old ways of Mandalorian culture, conquering, assimilating other cultures into the way of the Mandalore. Mandalore Mariel and his true Mandalorians had set out to reform Mandalorian society into a modern era. But to her and her father, it was still barbaric. She still did not understand why this Jango Fett was being permitted to bring this war to Mandalore. Jango Fett and Cart Rao were already in the conference room when Duke Kryze and his daughter Satine entered. The true Mandalorians had done what was asked, and no one was wearing armor, and there were no weapons visible. As Jango heard the pair enter the room, he turned from the large window overlooking the Mandalorian capital city of Sundari. In his arms was a child no more than a year old. Duke Kryze, before anything else is negotiated, this child belongs to your clan. The Duke eyed Jango. Where are my daughters? Where are Mi Regan and Bo-Katan? Jango bowed his head slightly. Mi Regan died, a true Mandalorian warrior, fighting for what she believed in. Tor Vizsla set a trap for us on Quarter 6, and your daughter lost her life. I have not seen Bo-Katan, but I have heard rumored that she fights with Tor Vizsla in his death watch. This child is the offspring of Mi Regan. She playfully called him Corky, but he is named for his father, Miles Scarada, Admai. It was visible that the Duke and Satine were shaken by the news. My daughter, Mi Regan, said she was on the right side of the war. There was no right side in war. Now, there is just the orphan child. I would assume his father is dead? Jango responds, Yes, Duke. He was one of my top lieutenants and a great warrior. He perished the same day as your daughter. She is deeply missed in our house. I have no means to care for their child, though. This war is no place for a young Mandalorian prince. Satine walks to Jango and gently takes the boy from his arms. Father, he has her eyes. Then Satine wept silently as tears streamed down her face. She and Mi Regan always had a close bond, closer than that of Bo-Katan. Bo-Katan was still young and idealistic. Satine just hoped it wasn't Bo-Katan who killed their sister. Satine then spoke, fighting back the words of her sadness. Father, I will raise Corky as one of our own. He will know what it means to be loved. The Duke nodded. Very well, Satine. The boy is now your responsibility. He could hear her whispering to the child as she touched his skin. Corky. The Duke turned to Jango. Mandalore Fett, thank you for returning the child to his family. You're right. This war is not a place for such a young prince. I wish my daughters understood that as well. He then showed a sterner look. Let's get down to business. I assume you have a proposal for me, not just an offer of good faith, but you want something in return. Jango then stiffened his back, as if to stand at attention. This is not something I want in return for bringing the child to you. The child is yours. Regardless of your decision, the child stays with you. Jango then told the story of how he came to be Mandalore, and the story of how his sister came to be in their medical facility. He explained that Tor Vizsla will soon gain strength and come for Jango and his true Mandalorians sooner rather than later. He then explained that the Death Watch won't stop there. Tor Vizsla's next move will be to take out the government at Sundari. Complete power is what Tor Vizsla wants, and he is using a black blade to try to legitimize his rule over the Mandalorian people. Duke Kryze listened intently. As Satine said, diplomacy is more favorable than war, and Mandalore had seen enough war. He then spoke. The Black Blade is called the Darksaber. It was created by the only Mandalorian accepted into the Jedi Order. It is an ancient weapon, and its creator, Tar Vizsla, had returned to the Jedi Order when he became Mandalore. Now, the eldest in Clan Vizsla takes it upon themselves to wield the blade and try to claim it's their rightful place to rule because they own the blade. It's a relic, and Vizsla relic at that. Young Fett, you seem like you care about your people, but I would assume there is a reason for your visit, more than just a history lesson on your family and the Darksaber. Get to the point. Cart Rao looked uneasy and thought to himself, how dare you speak to your Mandalore in such a way? But he kept his mouth shut, as instructed by Jango, as they first entered the room. But he couldn't help but feel like they could take out this old pompous pretender. That was not the way of the true Mandalorian, though. Jango answered the request to get to the point. As I said, Tor Vizsla will not stop with destroying me and my true Mandalorians. He will come for you next. You, your daughter, and the child. You are defenseless here and have no real warriors to protect you. The ones you do have are either too old to fight again or brainwashed into your pacifist ways. I get it, I do. But you need protection, and we need our home support. We can train those who would like to be a defense-only security. Whether Tor Vizsla comes for you now or later, it's going to happen. You need the protection, and we could use your help in defeating Death Watch. The old man used his thumb and forefinger to gently touch the sides of his beard, as if to really think about what Jango Fett had just told him. What about the ruling of Mandalore? Jango hadn't considered this. After all, he was the Mandalore, but so far had only commanded forces of warriors. He had no experience with ruling a people and couldn't even consider it until the Civil War was over. Duke, you have been doing a fine job maintaining the Mandalorian people. I propose a joint effort. For now, I will only command the military aspect, and you will continue to maintain the populace. It will continue that way until the Civil War has ended. Then you will remain on as my first advisor. Duke Adonai Kryze was not a stupid man. He knew this could mean the eventual takeover of Mandalore through the use of military force. He had to be cautious. Even as genuine as the new Mandalore seemed, he had no experience with leading an entire people. Your time is up, Mandalore Fett. Go check on your sister in our medical facility, then return to your ship and await my response. You can remain docked, but you will be under security observation. However, I will have my staff bring you food and provisions. Jango gave a slight bow toward the Duke. Thank you. I await your answer patiently. Even though he knew deep down there wasn't much time to waste, Death Watch would regroup quickly, but he had to show patience to the pacifists. To be continued. Okay, so that's part 12 of the Jango Fett fan fiction I've been working on. I'm really enjoying making these, but let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you enjoy them? I'm planning on a few more for this series, maybe 5 or 6. Yeah, I know that's more than a few, but like I said, I'm really enjoying making them. If you are enjoying them and you want to get the attention of Lucasfilm or Dave Filoni, be my guest. I'd love for my ideas to be used in their stories, or maybe even write for them one day. I know it's a long shot, but you never know. Well, thank you for watching, and remember, this is the way. The only way.